What's going on, guys? All right, so we're getting hype in here. This is our first stream, our first podcast. This is Champions of the Force. We are going to have some special guests on tonight. We're going to go ahead and introduce them right now. So let's go ahead and stop this music. And our first guest is Master Allen. Everybody knows Master Allen, and we're going to play him a little intro here.
Neighborhood Master Allen. From the 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 Neighborhood Master Allen. A Kit Kat is definitely more of a sandwich than lasagna. Come on down to leveluplightsaber.com, where we have the lightsaber guaranteed better than a stick. From the Neighborhood Master Allen.
I had too much fun with that.
That was good.
Intro. I had way too much fun with that. So we're going to remove that. And then we got our next guest, Akula, as well. We got him a little intro. So we're going to go ahead and play that and get him in here as well. Alrighty. So welcome in, you guys. Oh, how do we want to do this? Oh, there we go. That's good.
That was badass.
Thank you.
That made me look way cooler than I actually am.
That was a nice hype reel. That was good.
I appreciate it, you guys. So I'm actually going to end this TikTok live because I got my notes on my phone here. First of all, I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. You guys are awesome. Like I said multiple times, you guys actually both inspire me. You guys are both two people that really helped me start making my content. Akula, I remember you reposted one of my videos. I had like 100 followers, man. I was like really bad at doing what I was doing, and you still hyped me up. It was awesome, man. It really got me like jump started. And Master Allen, I reached out to you, and you're just awesome, man. You're helping me out on everything as well. So yeah. So you guys made me really feel like invited into this community we have here. So I appreciate it.
TikTok, not like Facebook, man.
Yes, sir. So on the topic of TikTok, the first question I want to ask you guys is what kind of started you guys off on TikTok? You guys can just decide who goes first.
Go ahead, man.
Ironically, it was my daughter. I have a 13-year-old who said,
"Tiny, I didn't realize you had a teenager." Man, my heart goes out.
I have a teenager, yeah. So I'm all the way in.
Not ready for a teenager. My toddler is enough. Oh my god.
I have all girls too, so it's only from here.
Oh man.
So my 13-year-old was like, yeah, Dad, you should really show them like online. She has a TikTok. She was like, you should really show them online. Like, this is cool. Like, people appreciate this. I was like, baby girl, I don't know. I don't think anybody wants to see this. And she was like, oh no, I promise you they'll love it. And I was like, And she was like, look, I'll make it for you. She took my phone. She made my account. And I think for the first, I had like a random username for like the first 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden people were liking my videos and they just kind of took its own identity from there.
Yes, sir. We do love those videos.
If your own kid is hyping you up, that's like, especially like if they're at the age where normally like parents aren't cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Hyping you up, that's quality. Thank her for it.
Yeah, for sure. She's jealous now because now I'm booming. I'm doing better than she is, and she can't stand it.
That's cool. Forgot to close that. Sorry.
I have a 3.5-year-old girl whose mother.
Oh, hey. I know him.
What's up, John? How's it going? Thanks for coming over. If you guys don't know, real quick before Master Allen goes, John's from Funny Science Fiction Podcast. Master Allen and me have both been on there. So I appreciate you stopping by. You got it. And go ahead, Alan. Let's see what started you off.
COVID. So like my main job is as an instructor at a martial arts school. And so when lockdown happened 2 years ago, like we went a stretch of time without doing any of our regular indoor class program.
Right.
And had to do a whole lot of adaptation and jumping around and stuff like that. And so I ended up on my phone more. And TikTok is a really good, serotonin delivery system when you're worried that the dojo you've been going to since 1993 is going to lock its door for the last time because of COVID.
Right.
So that's just a really easy way to doom scroll because of like the nature of TikTok. It just is. And so I started watching, and then I eventually made a handful of videos, just sort of like, you know, futzing around while I was outside in between some of the outdoor classes and stuff like that. And then in that same zone, I'd also auditioned a couple of different manufacturers to work with for Level Up Lightsaber, because at the time it was just a training site.
Right.
And now I've got the shop and the training. But when I was ready to launch actually having physical product, like I tested out a bunch of different stuff from a bunch of different people, found some things that I liked for my lightsaber class that was a part of the dojo. And those were the things that I had in inventory because I had to buy certain numbers. And so then instead of just, all right, here go guys, you want it in black or gray? Like I put it up on the website and then people bought it. And somewhere around Christmas, I did the video of better than a stick.
Yeah. And stuff.
And here I am.
Yes, sir. So actually, my next question too is, where'd you guys get your username? I know Akula was posting about this a little bit the other day. So in that topic of starting it.
Yes.
So go ahead and explain yours, Akula.
Can I go first? So I don't have to
go ahead.
Because yours is going to lose mine.
That's true. His story is amazing. I listened to that whole video like twice.
My username is Level Up Light 1, and I am Level Up Lightsaber. So,
That's it. It just came to your mind, huh?
It was always going to be like a business TikTok, sort of, whatever.
Right.
All right, go.
All right. I'm trying not to give the long, drawn out version. Back in my young, hard charging devil dog days, I was a beautiful Marine, and my unit got. I was a comms Marine, right? SATCOM. It was 0627. So what people don't understand about satellite communications is it doesn't really sound like a badass, like in the field, hard charging, but MOS. But what you don't understand is grunts don't know how to use comm gear. So a lot of times you get attached to a grunt unit because they don't know how to use your shit. And you can show the grunts all day how to use your gear. It's not going to track. They're not going to keep it. They're going to data dump it. So a lot of times we'll get put with grunt units. We'll get put out in the field. So for this specific op, I got attached to a grunt unit to do some comm, right? That's where I'll leave that. And in this very specific place, we are allies, and the allies there have very specific enemies. And my unit at the time, we had got the nickname Hammerheads. Now I'll go into a little bit of how we got the nickname Hammerheads. So in 8th Communications Battalion, I believe Explicit is in the chat, and he is a Marine currently. Yeah. So if he knows anything about 8th Comm and French Creek, I'm pretty sure they're still pretty infamous for some of the stories that come out of there. Just anything that you could possibly think of about Marines getting in trouble for doing, it's already happened at French Creek. For example, one kid got drunk and drove his car through our sergeant major's house. Like car in the front,
Sounds like a good time.
In the living room. So we had a battalion commander at the time who had an idea. If we went 90 days without an incident, we would get a 72. A 72 is a 3-day weekend. Now, we made it, I think, to like 88 or 87 or 88 days. And a kid, this is not funny, but it's funny. A kid decided that he was going to get high on acid, slit his wrist, and sit outside. At 88 days, we were this close. Slit his wrist and sat underneath during colors. Right. So while colors is playing, they see this kid sitting underneath the fucking garrison flag with his wrist slit. And everybody freaks the fuck out. But it had to count. It counted as an incident. And we got the name the Hammerheads because we can't go 90 days without an incident. Heads are too hard. So when we got deployed to this place and everybody was going around calling us Hammerheads, they started the allies. They started saying Akula's, and I asked. I made nice with with an officer over there, and he I asked him, "What does that mean?" He said, "You guys are the sharks." He said, "Akula means shark." I was like, "Oh, I like that." And from there, it just, whenever people saw our unit, Akulas,
So sick.
and that's just it. It
It's
stuck.
not bad. It's a good
It's,
name.
it's amazing. I love that story, dude. That's awesome. My brother was actually, he went to Marine boot camp and he got discharged for peanut allergy. And I wound up trying to get into every branch and I couldn't get in because of peanut allergy at all. So,
oh man,
unfortunately. Yeah. Growing up, I always wanted to be a Marine. That was where I wanted to go. And then I met my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and kind of stirred away from the Marine side. Wanted to go Air Force once I started having kids. That didn't work out. So I actually was in New York. So I took a break from posting in like January. I was in New York for MEPS, and I wound up going all the way up there because I live in Florida. So I went all the way up there because my cousin's a recruiter there, and he thought he could get me in. But then when I got there, they had all my paperwork and they knew I had a peanut allergy.
Yeah, no.
They basically sent me home. So that was it. Yeah, man.
Wow, that's trash.
It sucks, man.
You want to hear how trash that is? I served with a guy. I got deployed with a kid. His name was Humphreys. He only had one lung.
Dude, that's crazy, right? It's so crazy. My brother went to medical with a guy who was seizure prone, and they sent him back to training, but not my brother. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's bogus.
It's insane. It's insane.
That is how what that tells you is how deadly a peanut allergy is, especially when you travel a lot and when it would be that difficult to maintain food safety. Like that tells you how deadly that is. That dude with one lung, nah, we can make that work. You still got one. You only need the one. It's okay. Peanut allergy, nope. That's too risky. That causes too many problems for us to solve.
They basically told me it was because after boot camp you're good, but during boot camp you can't carry an EpiPen. And that's the one issue. I'm like, but there's like, isn't there medical like personnel and bases in boot camp? Like, isn't there like a medical place? Like, why is it?
You're
it's
always
not like you're that far. You're not that far from someone who can take care of you. So what's the difference? I don't know, man. We could talk all day about that because it frustrates me. Ever since I grew up, I saw actually funny story. I saw Captain America, the first one, and when he said, "If other people can do it, why shouldn't I?" That always resonated with me, and that was like what pushed me to do it. And it just never worked out, man. It's unfortunate, but I'm also fortunate because I get to spend life with my daughter. I don't get to miss out on anything, which is great. But at the same time, there's pros and cons each side. And says,
for sure.
I'm surprised Army takes everyone unless your IQ don't make it. Yeah, which is funny because I actually had like a really good score on my ASVAB, so they still didn't take me. Anyways, so we will get into our first real topic. So we're a little late, but since it's the first episode, I wanted to start talking about the Kenobi trailer. How are you guys feeling?
I couldn't be happier. I have live action Inquisitors coming. And we have a new addition.
I was gonna say you just posted today about it, and I thought it was funny. Master, I don't know if you saw that post, but it was you can go ahead and talk about that a little bit if you want.
Oh man, there's nothing. I took a sound that I've seen a fucking million. Can I curse on here? I took a sound that I've seen a million times, right? That I thought everybody would be used to seeing by now, and I just took it. I love a black woman from infinity to infinity, and our new casted Inquisitor is a black woman, and it's just a screenshot of me saying. And people were like, "What are you saying? What's happening here? Okie dokie." Right, and I lost 100 followers. I lost 100 followers because of it. I was like, "All right, I made it."
Let them leave.
Super gonna miss those people.
Yeah, right.
Super weird. It's a super weird thing to be upset about.
Yeah. So
every time I do the rainbow blade lightsaber, I lose a couple of people.
Really?
It's like, and that's one of those things where it's just like, you know what? If you guys didn't know beforehand, like if you didn't understand beforehand, I pinned the video to make it pretty clear, like where, like, if that's what it takes to have the trash take itself out, like it's fine.
Yeah, man. Hey, we don't want you here if you're gonna be like that. But yeah, man, I'm super hyped. Even though I think this new Inquisitor is not gonna last very long. I will say that.
Hey, none of them can, unfortunately. Nobody.
That's true.
We know the destiny of every new character we see in the Kenobi show, probably.
Right.
There's no way around it.
Says, I'm ready for the tears, helicopter blades.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't come. I mean, I get it. It's in Rebels. Leave it in Rebels. We'll just we'll go without that. But Obi versus Vader.
So
That's sick.
people dislike it visually for all kinds of reasons, and I get that. But it creates the ability to import an Inquisitor into any inconvenient moment. Like being able to, without the use of a ship, without the without all kinds of stuff, it creates a narrative way to just drop an Inquisitor into almost anywhere.
Right.
Right.
That's true.
And that
Good
allows
point.
you to make the Inquisitors like Freddy or Jason, or
Right.
and so like as much as that's like I get why people don't like it. It doesn't faze me. But I get why people don't like it, and I'm not going to tell you got to change your mind.
Right.
But that's like from a narrative standpoint, that's what it allows the writers to do. And if the Inquisitors are going to feel like a credible threat against Kenobi, surprise is going to be a really important part of that happening.
Right.
Because then we would feel like, oh man, he's not ready. Plus he's rusty and all this kind of stuff, like to make those fights more dramatic and more interesting.
So
Right.
one thing I think about like the whole Inquisitor thing is I'm a little worried. I think people are going in with too high of expectations because of the fact that Kenobi is not really going to get. I don't think he's going to use his saber against the Inquisitors at all. Because if he does, then they know he's Kenobi.
He gives himself up.
Right. So like I don't think he's going to fight them in the way we think they're going to fight, or a lot of people do.
I agree. I think that's definitely going to upset people. I think people are going to want to see these real eccentric battles that are going to know this is espionage. This is me staying low. I think this is going to disappoint people, and if that's what they're looking for coming to this.
I agree. I just hope it doesn't turn out like Boba. That's like we talked about this on Funny Science Fiction podcast. Everybody was talking like, oh, Boba's not really doing much, but like he didn't really do much in the original trilogy either. Like he kind of just stands around looking like a badass. But I hope people take this a little different. We are going to get Vader versus Obi, so that's guaranteed. Like we're definitely getting a lightsaber fight at some point. So at least it'll be there, but it's not going to be against the Inquisitors.
Have we had it verified that we're going to get Kenobi versus Vader?
2 times.
Really?
2 fights.
I didn't know that had been verified yet. Like I'd seen a whole bunch of conjecture, and I'd seen shit from Zero, who was like whatever.
This is my brother, by the way, Akula. This is the Marine I was telling you about.
Hey, Rob. What's going on, my man?
But yes, I agree. I don't know. I watch a lot of Star Wars theory, and I know his opinions are a little biased, but at the same time, I like to do my own research. But like I said, him and I don't know if you guys have watched Nerd Theory, their little podcast they do on Monday nights. I say little, like they don't have like thousands of people watching every Monday, but Josh is his buddy that he gets his stuff from like reliable sources that I've seen posted before. So what he says most of the time is true, and a couple of his sources says 2 times, which I'm fine with. It does bring up the how does this tie into the original trilogy, but at the same time, I think they can kind of play with this. I don't think they need to be so strict on what goes on here. So I know you guys like to talk about Anakin, so I wanted to make that a big point too. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So, in your opinion, does what Anakin went through justify any or all of his actions?
Not at all. Not even kind of.
You tell me which historical figure, because this is the litmus test for anybody. Pick a historical figure from our world, because we have several people that have comparable body counts in terms of scope that are like that blood is on their hands. Pick a historical figure that has a body count like Vader that you would be like, well, but his childhood was really hard.
Right.
He was all doing it because of this loved one. There was all this past trauma that he didn't heal from. So it's not his fault that he went into a kindergarten with a weapon. Yeah. Like there's not a single historical figure you would do that.
Right, exactly. So go ahead.
I was going to say, well, the justified points have to come from a position of bias. I mean, if you are American and you live in this country and the idea of Black people revolting as slaves upsets you, you're not addressing their childhoods or their upbringings, right? That if that idea upsets you, but you're okay with Anakin slaughtering a village of people because some Tungsten Raiders hurt his mother, killed his mother. I gotta ask you: are you leaving your bias at the door? Are you checking that? Of course you are.
The
You're not.
conversation around the Tusken Raiders is super icky.
Yeah.
Like how quickly people are willing to just like write the Tusken Raiders off as non-human, as like non-sentient. Like that is super icky.
I think that's what Boba was trying to do, though. I think on purpose they added all that in because that was the biggest thing in the first couple episodes was like how human these creatures are. Like they really are just, they're different species, but like they really do have human tendencies.
Right.
So
and Lucas's whole point of that moment was to show us that Anakin was a monster.
Right.
But Anakin was a monster against a people that didn't have full personhood. So it was like accepted-ish within the movie.
Right.
The audience, we were supposed to look at that and be like, oh shit.
Right.
Right.
Like we weren't supposed to forgive that. We were supposed to see that was
this didn't bode well. This was some hefty foreshadowing. This doesn't bode well.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
did they?
As the audience, we all knew where it was going anyway. So it was like it wasn't a surprise, and it should have been. It should.
Did they have that planned, or did they start filming anything for the show Clone Wars before that came out? I don't think so, right? They started.
That's a good question. I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
The animated Clone Wars didn't launch until after the movies were done.
Right. So it might have been like in the ideas or in the storybook or whatever, in their planning, but they really do focus on that a lot in the show. And there's a lot of moments in the show that really push that. I think even more than the Tusken Raiders.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and the fact that it's even accepted at all, in my opinion, is insane. Like it's crazy. Like his feelings, don't get me wrong. We can justify his feelings. He should feel exactly how he felt, but he shouldn't have done what he did, is the way I look at it.
Well, I address, if you've ever been in, I try not to go to extremes. Like I'm not going to say a firefight, or if you've ever been in an altercation where you have to attack somebody, the amount of energy, the amount of rage you have to go through to go house to house, street to street, right? Like that takes an unfathomable amount of rage to do it blindly.
Right.
You've got some bigger demons to fight. And for people, like it even got to the point in my comment section where I had people talking about, you've never been this angry before.
Oh boy.
You've never lost anything. You people have no idea who I am and what I've been through and what I've had to, right? Like what I've had to deal with, how much shit I've had to shovel just to be here. To think that you are saying that it's okay for me at any point in my life to just haul off and do whatever because right, I lost something. It's crazy. It's crazy. Right.
And if we want to get into the whole like losing stuff, if anybody should have done anything like Anakin does, we'll bring it back to Kenobi. This dude, everybody says Qui-Gon's like the go-to like perfect Jedi, but in my opinion now, especially with this show coming out, I think Kenobi's going to take that role for me just because of everything he's been through.
Right, especially when we're talking about loss.
Yeah.
And they make absolutely they're not shy about demonstrating that Kenobi is Anakin if Anakin makes good choices.
Right,
like,
that's a good point.
Kenobi's armor in the Clone Wars, like the cowl,
right,
is the Vader cowl but white. Like is like everything about Kenobi is it's like, okay, imagine Anakin, imagine Darth Vader, except he's a hero instead of a villain.
Right.
That is like, and the other character that is very much this is Anakin if he was a hero instead of a villain is Mace Windu. Mm-hmm. And he is, among the Anakin stands, he's one of the most demonized.
Yeah.
Because for absolutely no reason. There's not enough context to demonize Mace Windu. We don't have enough information. We don't have enough on screen, and there's not enough in lore to really demonize Mace Windu. So you have to ask them to justify this demon. If you're going to praise this character and you're going to demonize this character, you can't ask us to not look at the nuances and the differences between the characters and the staggering major difference that's on the table, right? We're going to have to look at the obvious. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and like one of the conversations that I've now had many times that fits this formula. Mace Windu gets impatient with Anakin because Mace Windu gives orders because he likes the sound of his voice, not because Anakin is going to follow them. Because whatever Mace Windu tells Anakin to do, Anakin's not going to do it. And then the immediate rationalization that people say, because we're like, Anakin is presented to us as the self-insert hero for many Star Wars fans, especially in the animated Clone Wars, because there were a bunch of people that consumed the animated Clone Wars and Anakin was the character that they empathized with the most because they were older. The people that watched Clone Wars when they were younger, they connected more with Ahsoka because she was there for the people that were under 13, and Anakin was there for the people that were older, right? And so, but Anakin was right. He was right to do all of these things. Mace Windu didn't want to trust Anakin, and he was right.
He was right.
He was.
There's all of these things where it's just like any excuse you want to make for Anakin's behavior, you can apply it to Mace Windu, and it still makes Anakin the bad guy.
Yeah, I think
it's just not like
those characters go way more hand in hand, in my opinion, than a lot of people give the movies credit for. The only counter argument to what you're even saying is if he did try to trust him more, it could have. I put emphasis on that because you never know, but it could have went a different way. It could have helped him, but we don't know that.
The movies show us that nobody could have cracked Anakin.
So I'm glad you say that, actually.
Padme shows up and is like, you are walking down a path I can't follow.
So you guys are making this easy for me, though, because that was actually my next question. So it was Padme in specific. Could Padme have played a bigger role in stopping Anakin?
No.
Exactly. No. So in my opinion, she didn't do enough, but obviously for movie's sake, like, they needed it.
What else could she do except be the one that double taps him?
She could have just, dude, honestly, that after the Tusken Raider thing, she should have been, nope, that's it.
Just not be with him at all. Just separate.
That's enough. That's enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think her character, even in literature, she's a fixer, right? She's super empathic. She bears the brunt. She bears the weight of situations. And if you know any empaths, unfortunately, they have this almost martyr syndrome where they throw themselves in this deepness, this depth of trying to save people. Right. I think Padme's love for Anakin, it's referenced a lot, is more so about trying to save him. The whole relationship was about trying to save him. Well, I think
Camilla, anybody that's following Bariqua Wookiee on TikTok,
mm-hmm.
she's a very worthy follow. But she's mutuals with the author of the Padme books that have come out in the last couple of years. She actually got an advanced reader copy of the most recent one. And one of the things that she brings up frequently, and I wanted to make sure I stuck her name on this because she was the first person I've ever seen talk about this, and she brings it up on her channel a lot. But it's like there's within one of the novelizations that is now a canon novelization.
Mm-hmm.
Padme arrives at a choice point where it's continue to have belief and hope in Anakin or to walk away. And she chooses to believe in him.
Right.
And I've done the post a couple of times, the how do you want to lose? So like if you're at this point where it's like, okay, I have these two choices. If I'm wrong, which choice am I more okay with being that having been my choice? And so there are a whole bunch of people in the prequels that when they make choices about Anakin, I can believe that there is hope for Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, everybody makes that choice. Or I can write Anakin off. Even Mace Windu believes in Anakin.
Right.
Yes.
Stay at the temple. If you are right about this, you will have earned my trust.
Right.
Like, and so that's a really important part of her character as well, I think. And in the novelizations gives us a more clarified idea of what it's like to live with Anakin. I haven't gotten to read all of them yet, but now they're on my list because I think they're going to be a really interesting perspective on that. I got a question from Chaco really quick.
Yeah.
How do we feel about Luke trying to save Anakin?
Dude, you guys are making this so easy for me. So all right, let me go. Ready? So my next question is, why do you think Vader needed Luke to redeem him, and why couldn't Luke do it earlier? So that kind of ties in with that same concept there.
I want to throw plot at it.
Yeah, of course.
Unfortunately, I wish Luke could have done it earlier, but I say for plot. I think father, as somebody my father was just here actually last week to see his granddaughter's first basketball game. My
Awesome.
13-year-old playing basketball, and my dad was in prison for a really, really, really long time for doing a bad thing, and he's been out for about 2 years now trying to get his life together. So this was his first time in Connecticut because he couldn't leave the state,
Right.
and so he wasn't there when any of his granddaughters were born, and he has 3 of them. So my acceptance, my forgiveness of what happened between him and my mother, what happened for him going into prison is a very, very big part of his redemption. I'm noticing, right? Just from me, just sitting back and listening to him talk, he is very, very concerned about me personally. And I have a twin sister and I have 2 brothers.
I didn't know
And
that.
he, as his eldest son, he has like made it his point, like, I need you to forgive me so I can have the strength to go look in everybody else's face. So I think of a father looking at his son, needing his son to forgive him so he can have that strength to make this, to cross that desert,
That line.
right?
Yeah,
To cross
push
that
it,
line.
that little nudge you need, yeah. Alan, you go ahead and answer that question. How do you feel about that?
Anakin exists as a lesson in the prequels and in the original trilogy.
Yes.
So that's like, and the lesson is don't be Anakin.
Right.
Now, if we accept the dark side of the Force as a consumptive addiction, because it's presented that way in a lot of different ways. Like it's presented kind of like heroin, where like you reach a point with the dark side of the Force where if you're using it, you either have to choose to walk away from it forever, or you have to allow it to become the most important thing in your life.
Yes.
And so like we watched that happen to Anakin, right? And so if Anakin is a person who has an addiction, so the prequels are a story about somebody with an addiction that they are just barely keeping below the surface, and the people in their family and in their job and around them only get little glimpses of the trauma that the person is using that addiction to cover. And so then the only person that really knows the real Anakin is his dealer, and everybody else around him helps cover for him, hide his problem, like helps disguise it, because they think they have the whole picture when only they've got tiny pieces of the iceberg.
Right.
So that's
really
the story of the prequels, right? Is somebody allowing an addiction to completely consume their life, and then, whether we want to talk about it metaphorically or literally, destroys his family and burns down his job, or burns the bridge to those 2 things so severely that they may as well be dead in terms of him being able to reach them.
That's a segue into the Vader versus Anakin, whether or not they're 2 people or 1 person.
Right.
Right. Whether or not Anakin was the mask the whole time and we were looking at Vader from the beginning, right?
But so if we take him as that metaphor, which is, there are many other ways to talk about Anakin, but if we take him as that metaphor, then the original trilogy is Anakin not being able to reconcile with any of his family until his deathbed, when his son is on the brink of making the same mistake he did.
Yep.
And so he is able to make his peace with his son right before he dies. And that is why we can talk about it as a redemption arc, but we can't talk about it as, well, it's a redemptive moment rather than an arc. Because like Zuko gets an arc.
Right.
And that's an atonement arc where he goes back through and he has to face all this shit that is his responsibility and other things like that. Right. And so like Vader redeems himself, but he doesn't atone. And so if we take like the literary language, right? And so that is very much like, all right, all my choices got me here to this deathbed. I don't have a lot of time left. If I had more time, we could have more effectively reconciled, and I could have had the opportunity to atone, but I ran out of time.
Right.
And it then becomes also, and this is one of the reasons why I have no interest in letting Anakin off the hook for anything, is viewed through that metaphor. Reason why he gets his shit together is because he has no choice. He's in a hospital bed. He hooked up to life support, and he physically is not able to use anymore. So he doesn't stop using because he chooses to. He stops using because, like, it's already over.
It's over.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fair.
And so, like, if Anakin is a lesson about not following Anakin's path. This is my favorite way to talk about Anakin. There are other ones that I enjoy. This is my favorite way. Like it's Princess Bride, right? There's the grandfather that's telling the story to the son, and it's like the story is also a metaphor, right? And so like if Star Wars is a metaphor for a person that fucks up his life, and here are all the chances he had to not fuck up his life in the first place. And then the original trilogy is him now, instead of distancing himself from his family and his peers and his mentors and all that, now it's his kids. Because in the first movie, he tortures his daughter and blows up her house. And in the second movie, he tries to convince his son to use, and like they get in a major fight and he almost kills his son.
That's a good way to look at it, man. It's really good.
Like,
yeah. So it's actually something just came out this past weekend. Let me see if I can share my screen here. So I don't know if you guys heard about this. This is a new book that's coming out. This has a little excerpt. If you want to go read it, I'm sure you could read it on this website that it's already on, I think.
So this is Luke and Lando trying to hunt that.
Yes. So
Cool.
you do know about this already.
I did. I'm just looking at the cover and I'm connected.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let me give you guys a little rundown of what this excerpt is. From what I can remember, I listened to it a little earlier today. So Luke goes to the Seeing Stone that Grogu uses, right? And he meditates here, and he actually gets transported, not just like through force projection from the excerpt. It could be, but it leads us to believe that he actually goes. He gets like teleported there to Exegol. So it's tying it into the sequels, right? And he's on the surface of Exegol, and there's nothing around him. He can't see anything except the lightning going off, right? And in the lightning going off, he sees 9 like ghostly apparitions. They call them wraiths in the book, and they all have lightsabers, and they start attacking him. He can't hit them. He can only block their sabers or whatever, right? So he's like, after a while, he starts getting his ass kicked because he can't feel them in the Force. Like they don't exist in the Force or in the real world. So he can't really fight these things. He can only defend against them. So he's about to get his ass kicked like bad. Like he's probably about to die. And out of nowhere, there's a blue shape with a lightsaber, right? Defends them. They get scared and they leave. But they see he turns around. This blue apparition is Anakin. So they're bringing Anakin's Force Ghost in with a lightsaber. So Star Wars Theory was talking about this a little bit. He said that in the making of the original trilogy, that this was actually in George Lucas's plan to have them come back, have Obi-Wan and Yoda come back to help fight the Emperor and Darth Vader. Obviously decided against it. But in my opinion, I kind of like where they're going with this. It really ties into Obi-Wan's quote where he says, "If you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could ever imagine." This really plays into that. And I don't know if I like that they can physically use a lightsaber. We don't know if it like in the real world they can. He's fighting these wraiths. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but I'm definitely going to be reading that book because that sounds insane. And I just took you guys off the screen.
We're back.
But yeah, so it's super interesting to me that that's where they're going to take it because of where the sequels end up. And I feel like this can kind of help explain it a little bit.
Here's my thought on why I think it was a good idea that they didn't have Kenobi and Yoda be involved in that fight. And then also why, like, and depending on how they're going to present the wraiths and Anakin and other things like that. So if they do that, then Jedi's deaths don't matter.
Exactly.
And that's death already mostly doesn't matter in Star Wars.
Right.
And so making it completely not matter that's a road we really don't want to go down. Because it's already, like, we look at what happened with the sequel, like, it's already so hard for people to remove themselves from the original trilogy characters.
Right.
Like the prequels, because we had Anakin and Kenobi and there was some connecting, and then a lot of people grew up with the animated show. And so like their connection to those characters is really important. But like Han, Leia, and Luke not being the principal heroes of the new story was a major source of negativity directed at those movies. Even though they were doing the same role in the sequel movies that Kenobi and Yoda were doing in the original trilogy, like it's because it's not their time to be heroes anymore. It's their time to let other people be the hero.
They were ancient.
Yeah, right. I agree.
They're primary. They're the quest givers.
So I definitely think, in regards to like the death doesn't matter thing, I think they really need to play into like only these certain to fix that issue. Only these certain people became powerful enough or like trained in this specific thing enough to do it. Because if they start bringing back everybody, then that's out the door for me. I don't agree with that.
Well, there are a lot of. Go ahead.
Good, no, go ahead.
There are a lot of aspects to Sith spirituality that I don't think we've really delved into. So I think wraiths will be kind of a new ground. I think I remember something in the Dark Horse comics, like the Darth Crate. If I got to go back and read through it, but we know Sith can't have Force ghosts. We know that they can bind their souls to objects, but as far as like a wraith that can physically attack something, now unless this is happening on a spiritual plane, and unless we are breaking new ground and we're delving into Sith spirituality.
Well, and if the wraiths are a part of the locus, like then that solves that issue. Because it also, like Yoda's interaction with Bane, it very much seems like Bane can interact physically. Like it seems like he would present a physical threat. Right. You know, and the way that Yoda interacts with him is the way that like an old lion tamer is right at the this is how far the lion can get, and I'm gonna be right there. Like there's that vibe from that scene, and so like it's maybe like that, and then I'm okay. But like the Force Ghost thing, delivering wisdom, I'm okay, but like being part of the fight is like, come on.
They already started with the Yoda and the tree in the sequel trilogies, like bringing
which
down
was
lighting
my favorite scene in that movie. So like,
which is cool. I'm okay with it, but I don't know how they're gonna play this this card. I don't know. We'll see. I definitely want to read that, and I definitely will cover that a little bit on TikTok.
Definitely,
That's gonna be sick.
I look forward to seeing your input.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm many books behind at this point. So
yeah, I'm not the biggest book reader, but I've been trying to listen to some audiobooks. I started with the Ahsoka book actually, and I loved it. Oh my god, it was so good. Just because Ashley Eckstein voiced it, it automatically just felt like I was just watching another episode. Like
it checks the nostalgia box while doing all the other things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
When those books also have like the sound effects, I can't read. I hate reading. Like I cannot do it. Just like reading by myself, never could do it. But when there's like the sound effects, it just like captures me more. But yeah, so that actually ties us into the last question I had written down. In the sequels, so we're gonna go little sequels first. Before I get into that, actually, did you guys see the pictures of the concept art for Kylo Ren on the sequels? Yeah, that was crazy, and they should have done that. I would have not hated the sequels as much.
I only didn't like one of them.
Oh, Force gives Darkseid ability to come back as Wraith. Yeah. So, I mean, they could always play like they've just evolved to a certain level and became something that we didn't think was possible.
I tying it to it because we don't have enough information from that excerpt. It sounds like to know how much they could move.
Right.
And so if it's located at that spot where they zoned in, because if like you could do that intentionally, you could have a group of Sith that you put at that location to guard that spot if that's the role.
Well, it's Exegol, so yeah, I'm assuming that's what's going on. I'm hoping they can't really just like go wherever they want. But I guess we'll see. I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be good for the future of Star Wars. Like, I don't know what they're going to do after Kenobi, like show-wise, other than Andor and Ahsoka. But if they wind up doing sequel shows, I think that'll really help.
I cannot.
Oh, I know that's like way before, but that's awesome. That's going to be such a good show.
Well, I think ultimately that's where they're going to take Star Wars.
I hope so. I really hope so. But the only thing that stops me from thinking that is just all the Disney stuff that they're doing at the parks. They really have nothing about original trilogy other than Star Tours, but that's been there since the original trilogy. So
transitioning everything they have, because most of what they have right now is like First Order, like sequel
it's
era.
everything, yeah.
Transitioning everything to High Republic era. If they can't, I think the sequel era is going to have the same thing happen that the prequels did, where in about another 5 to 8 years, when everybody that was like a preteen that saw it is now
older,
engaged in the internet discussion, then the sequels is how they enjoyed the movies. Like that's how they got introduced.
right?
That's going to be a part of, that's going to become a part of online culture.
Right.
That's going to be part of interaction, and sequels are.
He's lagging a little bit.
even more people that are, but like High Republic. If that doesn't happen with the sequel trilogy era, High Republic is the sandbox that Disney is making.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it'd be really easy for them to make the parks in that image over time.
Yeah. I'm excited because they can literally do anything with it. They don't have to get anywhere near the prequels. They can go back so far that everything doesn't affect it. And guess what? Yoda can even be there. Yoda's been around for 900 years. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the other thing. Like everybody wants lightsabers. And especially in our community,
more characters with lightsabers
can't beat it.
Makes it more fun because then it's because
I remember when Solo came out. I don't remember what year that was, but I was younger. I think I was still in high school when that came out. So when that came out and there was nobody in other than you see Maul at the end, but there's no sabers in it. When I was younger, to me, that I like it now. I do enjoy it now. But back then I'm like, there's no sabers. That's not what I'm here for. I'm wasting my time. You know what I mean?
It was a heist movie in Star Wars. It's I want every trophy genre to just have Star Wars wrapping paper on it. I want romantic comedy Star Wars.
Right.
I want Ocean's 11 Star Wars and Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13. Cause Solo is sort of Ocean's 11, so I want Ocean's 12. I want Ocean's 13. I want I want noir detective novel. I want Bogart movies in Star Wars. Just dude on Coruscant, just trying to figure some shit out. That it's with
the monologues and everything, the inner monologues.
And the weird slang.
Hey, we don't know. Andor might be something like that. I heard Andor is gonna be crazy.
I think Andor is gonna be the last cell.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be way more like that.
Yeah.
Acolyte's supposed to be a little bit noir detective-y.
Really?
I think because it's a dark mystery.
Right.
Because it's in part the acolyte of the Sith. That's why it's called Acolyte, and keeping hidden and all this kind of stuff. So it's I'm hopeful.
So they also announced a show that's supposed to be a Stranger Things type thing from the High Republic era.
Oh yeah.
So it's supposed to be it's supposed to follow a couple Padawans or whatever they called them back in the day, if they even called them that.
Still Padawans.
Yeah. So that it's supposed to follow younger, and I think if Disney pulls that off the right way, I think that would be a very big hit, especially among the amount of people that are trying to get into Star Wars. Because you got Star Wars Theory is another. They put this way, right? They go, you have your normies and you have your hardcore fans.
Right.
Your normies are people that watch Star Wars because, oh, baby Yoda's super cute, or hey, I know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is because he's one of the main characters, so I'm gonna watch this show, right? But then you have us hardcore fans, people that are doing podcasts and posting, videos and stuff. So I think with something like that will encapsulate both better than anything else. Better than Mando, because Mando really did that. If you think about it, a lot of the hardcore fans, it was the first thing of Star Wars we got for so many years. And then, they introduced Grogu and all these new people are oh, that's cute. I'm going to watch that.
I want to watch that.
Well, and it's also Mando was a great way to have a new character be a delivery system for fan service nostalgia.
Yep.
And Boba Fett wasn't able to do as much fan service with the first couple of episodes, and it was light on action. So the combination of those two things, one of the things that Disney has been shown since the Solo movie is that anything they do, if they aren't able to lean on the fan service button, it's going to be harder for it to be positively received. And I really think they thought it was going to be enough with Boba to have Boba the main character to not have to do as much fan service in the early episodes.
Right.
But that's like guest star of the week, man.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have nailed the finale on that. I feel like the show as a whole would have done a little bit better. Like it definitely did good. Like it has the numbers.
It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it too. But the way people like reacted to that finale, like I get it. I think there should have been something to give us. Like, come on, that end credit scene. Who really cares about that guy? Like, we don't really care about Kylo Ren. Not like we would if I was hoping Black Sun comes in or Crimson Dawn comes in, something like that. But we got Cobb Vanth in a back to tank, even though Black Satan was supposed to be in there.
Well, but you're thinking about these like a traditional television series where there's like season one of Mando, season 2 of Mando, season 1 of Boba, season 2 of Boba.
I don't want a second season of Boba, actually. I told everybody. Everybody was like, "Oh, you think there's going to be a second season?" I was like,
"There's going to be a second season."
You think so?
There's going to be a second season, but think about what we just learned from this one. It's all of this is connected. The Ahsoka series is going to be connected to this.
The Filoniverse.
But it's like all of those things they're going to piggyback off of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not going to happen in parallel. They're going to happen in series.
Right.
And so like the Ahsoka show is going to show us what Ahsoka has done to find Luke, probably, after she found Luke, while she's looking for Ezra Bridger, while she's looking for Thrawn, because presumably she's looking for Thrawn because she's looking for Ezra. Like that's what these shows are going to do, is connect a little bit the end of the OT to the beginning of the sequel trilogy, but also tell the story of this era in Star Wars that's kind of interesting, because you have organized crime, the remnants of the Empire, and a republic that hasn't found its feet yet.
Right.
It's all kind of vying for a position that then ultimately reaches a point where the republic kind of finds its feet, but it is then attacked by a very large terrorist cell. Like, and so, or invaded by another country, depending on how you would think about it.
Right.
But like, so season 1 of Mando connects to season 2 of Mando, connects to season 1 of Ahsoka, connects to season 1 of Book of Boba.
Branches off, yeah. Season
1 of Book of Boba is the prequel to season 3 of Mando. Like they're all
right.
A bridge to each other.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like I almost don't. That's why I said I almost think there's not going to be a second season. I almost think it's just going to be Mando season 3, and Boba's just going to be a part of that. So I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we'll find out. But I do think that the time frame from the end of Revenge of the Sith until the sequels start is still so unexplored, because just to get to the original trilogy, 20 years. We're getting Kenobi right in the middle, so that's cool. We're going to be getting Andor, which is in between that. But even during the original trilogy, that is so like small of a focus of area in Star Wars. Like we don't get anything other than Luke's storyline, and there's so much that could be going on. People are like, where's Mace Windu if he survives? Where's he during the original trilogy? You don't know. Just because he's not, we could assume that he would want to get revenge and go fight Vader, but there's so much going on we don't know about, and I really hope they play with that, because that's what Star Wars fans want. That's the time frame we're most interested in. We don't really care. I mean, some people care about the sequels, but like, I personally want to see what's after the sequels. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if they did like a Finn show, redeem that guy. Come on, bring him back.
Give him the story he was supposed to have.
Exactly.
Finn got sacrificed on the altar of toxic fans that got their panties in a bunch over The Last Jedi.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then still got their panties in a bunch.
Either way.
There wasn't making him happy. But that's the Rise of Skywalker demonstrated to us that Disney isn't gonna do anything that they can't fan service, at least at the moment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's too dangerous.
And risk having that happen again.
Yeah.
Like we know that. And it sucks. God, it sucks. So my dislike of The Rise of Skywalker is entirely outside the movie itself. Like, the movie itself is fine. It's not I like it better than Attack of the Clones, but it's like it's fine.
Right.
You know, the moments that are supposed to be poignant are effectively poignant. I like it's, but it's fine. I'd rather watch more or less all of them. Like Attack of the Clones has all of the really bad romance dialogue.
Yeah,
there is that.
It's
there is
like,
that. You won't get a rebuttal from that from me.
It's hard to out that thread because like that thread isn't like I understand why it's done the way it's done. Also, like George Lucas is good at a lot of stuff. George Lucas is good at many things. He sucks at spitting game.
That's true. That's a good point.
It's just like just call it what it is.
That's
like
funny.
No, he sucks at spitting game. And his dialogue is much more novel than cinema. Some of the most memorable lines that we have are things that he didn't originally write.
Right.
The "I love you, I know." Most Star Wars fans are aware that was an improv line.
Right.
Because Leia was having so much trouble with her lines because she was really hungover and or possibly still drunk. And so Han Solo said, "I know," because they'd already done that scene so many times. And so he did it because like it was its own take. It didn't need to be a continuous take. And he had already delivered his line very well a couple of times.
Right.
And Lucas was like, "Oh, that's it. We're going to
use it." Yeah.
That's better. That's better than what I wrote.
To be fair, there's just a lot of lightsaber though. I think that's why Attack of Clones like kind of slides through the radar there.
Oh, definitely.
There's so much like action, and it ties straight into the Clone Wars. Like
most of this movie's coolest stuff.
Yeah.
Is in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
And some of the cringiest stuff is.
That's true. Maybe the highest highs and lowest lows in Star Wars. Maybe.
But so, and this is my dislike of The Rise of Skywalker is entirely outside the lines of the movie, and I don't spend a lot of time making content about this. But so, I was in Target several months after The Last Jedi, and there were Rose Funko Pops on an end cap in Target. And now I know I look it, but my grandmother is from Okinawa. And so I was in Target with my mom, who grew up in the United States during the Korea and Vietnam War, where white people did not give a fuck which Asian nationality you were. If you looked generically Asian, generally speaking, the racial slur for you would be gook anywhere in the country. And if there's an Asian character in a movie from basically the point where my mom was a kid to now, they are either the nerdy sidekick or they are the martial arts delivery system.
Yeah.
And that is their job. They're either the nerd or they're the martial artist that doesn't have lines.
Right.
And there was a character that looked a lot like my mom did when she was a kid, and that made a difference. But there was a character that looked like my mom. And that character had a bobblehead at Target.
Oh my. That's funny. That's crazy.
And so mom saw it, and then we had to start walking faster because she was going to cry.
Wow. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, I saw Rise of Skywalker with my mom.
Oh, boy.
And I saw all the times that what's his name from Lost and Lord of the Rings got lines because they needed there to be another white dude to appease the white dudes. And I saw how little there was of Rose and how all of Rose's story was basically to just affirm things to people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we were walking out of the theater and my mom didn't notice.
Really?
If my mom had noticed, I would never forgive that movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe because the movie's so bad, she didn't notice it. Yeah.
But she's been a Star Wars fan for a really long time. So like, there's a lot of really important moments for Leia, and Carrie was dead, and all these. And so like, there's that stuff. And so there are a lot of ways in that movie that if you've been a Star Wars fan for a really long time, it touches your heart.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does.
Like, and especially on your first watch. After you've done a second and third and things like that, you start to realize. Like it doesn't survive multiple viewings in ways that some of the other Star Wars movies do.
No.
Just because there's some stuff that's just like, wait a second.
Season 8 Game of Thrones. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Don't even bring it up.
That's
Don't do
what it
to me.
is.
I know. Don't do it to me though. But all right. Well, I don't want to run too much longer than an hour. So if you guys want to go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, I'm sure they all follow you if they follow me. So
Well,
anyways,
I got one more.
do it anyway.
And I got one more. Oh, I got to put it this way. I got one more thing that we need to hit because
Okay,
it was part of our exchange that you were like, man, I want to invite you guys onto this.
If you guys are down, I'm down. Let's keep going.
All right, so Akula, because I reasonably have like 20, 30 minutes. Akula, one of the things that you mentioned, so like I did the post that was, I mean, like it was entirely comment bait because my views had been down, but it was also like a fair observation of the Sith. Like we aren't ever presented with a pathway for the Sith that's like I want to do that,
Right.
because it's like you've either got to be constantly watching your back, or you're a slave. And you made a really good point. It's like if all the Sith characters have to have some goofy ass Achilles heel.
When being a dark side user in itself is the Achilles heel. Eventually, like you said, you're going to overdose. Those are your two options. You quit or you overdose. It's an Achilles heel in itself, but I think the way George Lucas presents the Sith without the Achilles heel, they are combatively superior. Just in aggression, raw aggression alone. So they kind of, you have to have, especially if we're talking about plot, right? We need the story to carry on. Maul should have defeated Obi-Wan. In theory, he should have defeated Ahsoka, but he was not supposed to win those fights, right? Christopher Lee as Darth Tyrannus should have completely massacred young Anakin, but we need him to lose. We need Yoda to come at that time to save them. The Sith have to have these really kind of goofy, also these goofy aspirations, right? Wasn't it Darth Tyrannus who wanted people to not be cruel to each other? So his idea was he was going to be. That's so.
Yeah.
It's almost against this prestigious gentleman character we could present it when we look at Christopher Lee. It's almost childish.
There's multiple, like from our own history, and I'm sure I don't know how much military history you've done, but like some of the most horrifying tyrants we have had in our world were people that sold themselves on the lie that if they became powerful enough and they were in charge and everybody would just listen to them, then all the problems that people have with cruelty and all of this stuff, all that would just go away.
Right.
Obviously, we see that like if you put yourself in that position through blood, then the way you keep yourself in that position is just by more blood.
Right.
And that's how we've seen that play out in history over and over again. But it's like, especially when we see it in Darth Tyrannus, it's ludicrous. It's just like, man, he can't be that stupid, but he is.
But he is. And he has to be.
Yeah.
He has to be.
Unfortunately for the plot.
Right. Unfortunately for the plot, right? Darth Maul has to be the wisest, one of the most wisest, and has the gift of foresight, but has to be played with just unnecessary arrogance to the point where he loses
everything.
80-ish, 85%-ish of his fights.
Yeah.
He gets to that point where he's like, I've got this person in the palm of my hand, now I'm going to glue.
He's remembered as one of the greatest lightsaber duelists. Like that's how people think of him.
Right.
And we never see him win.
Yeah, right.
Nope.
We never see him win.
Nope. And a fanboy will argue you down. Will argue you down. Will fight you.
Maul is crazy, man. I was listening to Sam Witwer at Collective Con that I just went to, and it is crazy to me how much Sam does get recognition in the Star Wars community, but I feel like outside of it, like this guy really puts in so much time to make an impact on his character. He doesn't just show up and, act, or he doesn't just voice act. He like really makes stuff happen. So he was talking about how
he played Darth Maul for like 7 years.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff Darth Maul does was his idea. Like he was talking about a couple times. I won't go super far into like what he said, but he was just saying that like with Dave, he'd be like, hey, this is what we should do. It might not work for the first couple of weeks, but as soon as people realize what we're trying to do, it'll work out. And a lot of those things were his ideas that he would like put out there, and they ran with it. And look at where Maul's at. He's top 5 most people's list. Like,
right,
one of the most developed characters in Star Wars. It's crazy.
Definitely developed, definitely pretty fleshed out character.
Yeah.
When he's gotten to get a chance to get so much depth that like Vader as a villain doesn't actually get as much.
Yeah.
Like Darth Maul is a villain that we get to know much better than we get to know Vader.
Yeah.
Right.
Because like
For now.
But like there's Attack of the Clones, Darth Maul is one of the principal antagonists.
Right.
And we get to see Anakin as Anakin, but that's at the moment where he's still being torn. Like we don't get to see Vader as Vader making Vader choices.
Right.
Right.
You know, and killing people at staff meetings and stuff. Like I mean, I empathize with the guy, but
that's so
terrible joke. But so like when you said the piece about how Sith always narratively have to be saddled with an Achilles heel that is like it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, because otherwise the story doesn't work the way it needs to. All right, fine, okay. And one of the things for me when people talk about the Jedi being flawed and the Sith being flawed and the Jedi being just as bad as the Sith and all kinds of the takes.
No, that's silly.
Well, but so if you take the Sith, it's objectively silly to say that the religious organization that is also kind of sort of an international diplomacy / police force is objectively comparable to the genocidal totalitarian regime. Like
right.
There's not, it's like, whatever. Okay, fine. There are also some people that consume the Jedi entirely through religious trauma that they experienced, and I'm not going to invalidate, because like there are a whole lot of people that their experience of Anakin is really, really parallel to their experience with whatever faith they were forced to grow up in.
Right.
And and all that. And so it's like, that's I don't want to crap on that for some people, because that's
and that's why I'll come and crap on that for him. I'll typically try to do that because it's not comparable at all. It's not comparable.
That's a wound that like when people have gone through that, like when they've been saddled with shame for who they didn't ask to be, like that's something that it's like, I'm not going to fight you on that. That's a and if seeing Anakin and the Jedi, if that is just way too close to shit you experienced,
I'm happy to invalidate those people. If you think what happened to Anakin and him being given a seat that if you've ever had a student, instructor, master, Sifu relationship, and you've then become the master.
I've never met a martial artist that doesn't share this take. I've like every martial artist that I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm so with you.
You understand what it is to not be ready for certain things and have your instructor tell you, hey man, you're not ready for this. And most students of sound mind will go, you know what, master, you're right. I might not be ready for this. I appreciate the opportunity, and back away.
And everybody has also seen that one person that gets in their ego about it.
Yes.
And then you see that one person, it's like, oh shit, they really don't get it. It's not just that they don't get it, it's they really don't get it.
So I understand people who want to find their correlations in Anakin and I guess seeing the Jedi as religious zealots, but no, I'm sorry, I gotta invalidate you. No,
I agree, but so if, especially from like a Chinese way of thought, and so like the yin and yang, right, or what's typically said yin and yang. Yang is the active approach, like I'm gonna make it the way I need it to be,
right?
And so yang, act, yin, react. I'm gonna accept what it is and fit my way around it. Light, dark, warm, cold, like all the like opposites that are also like it's impossible to exist entirely as one. You got to have both. And so if the gray Jedi were ever one time presented as the balance of yin and yang, I'm in. I'm down. I'm totally cool with gray Jedi if they are presented like that. Gray Jedi are basically usually presented as like a fan fiction self-insert where it's like, no. I dabble in these dark side powers. I casually use heroin, but it doesn't control me. It's just like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. I'm out. I can't.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness.
But if it's like the Bendu, where it is like there is only the Force, and so sometimes you have to act, sometimes you have to react, sometimes you need to look ahead, sometimes sometimes you need to be in the moment. If it's that, I'm in, and because the Sith are very, very yang, and so if you were to take the Sith ideology of making the world into the shape that you need it to be so that you can achieve your goals, fuck yeah. That's great. Like if you're climbing the ladder without having to step on people to do it, right? Like if your ascension is reliant on stomping other people down, that's very much the Sith. But if you take the Sith ideology and just turn it into self-actualization and being goal-oriented, cool, I'm in. That's great. Yeah. And if yin is about being very relaxed about, okay, these are the things that I can't change, so I'm going to either accept these or move on. These are the things that I have the power to change. I'm going to do my thing there. Like that, I'm also totally on board as well. Like both of those are viable. And so for every like Darth Maul got himself killed because of arrogance, because of writing, then like the other side of that coin is the only reason that the Jedi used the clones is because of writing.
Right.
Yoda and Mace Windu were both intelligent enough and wise enough to look at that and be like, nah, fuck this.
Nope.
Burn every single one. Burn this whole thing down. We are going to orbitally bombard this planet.
Nope. You're handing us an army? Nope.
Yeah, exactly.
No, thank you. Right. Yoda has been around for 900 fucking years. I'm sure he should have been able to see that coming from a mile away. Nope.
Especially with the Force, man.
But also the context by which they found out. An assassination on Padme, where the assassin used bugs to try to assassinate Padme, but the assassin had been hired by this other person who also was over here, which is where we found the army. Also, the army is clones of this person who hired this person to kill Padme.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
What? Okay. Writing.
Yeah. Hey man, it all falls back into the plot, unfortunately. But that is what Star Wars is. You know, we love it for it.
The Jedi.
Right.
You guys are both militarily literate. Explain to me why Luke's plan in Return of the Jedi was a good plan. We are going to give up all of our assets and get captured, and then we're going to kill everybody. That was the plan.
I don't think you're getting any argument there.
It was badass. It was really, really badass. It was great.
Fun to see on camera.
Yeah. Right. But that was the plan. We were going to give up every asset we have and get captured, and then we're going to break out.
Well, this is exactly why I wanted you guys on the show. Like I said to you guys, I love the way you guys relate Star Wars to just everyday life. And that's what, in my opinion, Star Wars is really meant to do. And I'm sure you guys agree with that. Like that's the point of the story of Star Wars is so we can, as individuals, relate, whether it be the same opinion as other people or in our own way. If you can better yourself off of what happens in Star Wars, I think that's what it's really meant for. And like I said, I love how you guys have different views on how to relate stuff. And it's just awesome. I think it has a lot to do with your martial art backgrounds. Cause I know Akula, you were, and of course, Master Allen, but I personally never dabbled in martial arts, and I wish I did. I know it's never too late, but
never too late.
Right now it's a little hard with the kid and another one on the way. But maybe one day.
How old's your oldest?
She's 1.5 years. She'll be 2 by the time my next one's here.
So this is up to you, because the 2 best times to start a martial art are 5 years ago and tomorrow.
That's true.
But if you wait until she's old enough to do a class and then you do it with her.
Right.
And then it's a habit that you guys already have when your youngest is old enough to join you. And now it's the cool thing that I do with dad X number of times a week. And like you squeeze in one class on your own and you do one class with them. And they do one class with each other.
That's a good idea. I might have to look into that.
But that, I mean, like Akula and I really became friends off of a disagreement.
Really?
Yeah.
We really did. I've got it pinned on my channel. The where I basically gave an explanation of why the hashtag all men took off, especially among women. And I'm gonna paraphrase and then please correct me. Basically, for a black man in America, hearing a hashtag that is if I see somebody that meets this criteria, I need to consider them a threat for my safety. Like, that mindset gave him some reason for disagreement.
Yeah.
And he made a video response. And I did another response because he's for anybody that doesn't also recognize this, Akula is also a mentor. And he talked about, I'll let you explain it, but he talked about an acronym that he gives his mentees, which is great. And I want him to get to break it down.
Gotcha. So I'll make it quick. So when I was doing my Taekwondo, I was black belt Taekwondo, and I was working on my instructor tab at the time. Some disagreements with my with the master of the dojo at the time, but I was more so on the tricking aspect of Taekwondo, and I had an issue with that. But more so the flashy flips and the tricks for competition for the demonstrations. So a lot of the students that I got to come in were actually black kids, African Americans, and one thing that I wanted to stress to them was how they reacted to the world based on the perception of them. So I taught them OODA loop, right? And if there's any Marines still in the chat, everybody knows what OODA loop is, right? Orient yourself. You observe first. You orient yourself. You decide, and then you act, right? It's a easy, little step to a little. I forgot the name, but basically a little tool, right? A little fun tool to help yourself, to give yourself those moments of pause, right? What do we just have that's flooding everybody's fucking For You page right now, right? We watched a black man assault another black man.
And the reaction has been...
The reaction is all over the place.
Yeah.
But for somebody like me and for somebody like Will Smith, who are both from West Philadelphia, ironically, I have been on the other side, the receiving end of not orienting myself, observing, then deciding before I acted. And I made a video, sent it to my mutuals, that almost cost me my life. And the only thing that kept me from dying was that a woman was coming out of her house and she saw what was happening. But I could have died because I didn't want to look like no bitch. And for young black men, for young black people, how you react specifically based on how the world perceives you is very, very important. Because we do not get the gift of individuality, right? We are all tied. We are all a monolith, even though we know that we aren't. We know that everybody's not the same. Everybody doesn't grow up with the same experiences. But yeah, to not go down that, to cut this extremely short, me and Master Allen disagreed. I basically said that I use OODA loop to teach young kids how to weigh the reaction, to understand that just because people see you as a threat, you don't have to engage as if you are a threat. You don't have to accept that as your reality.
And being aware that people can perceive you as a threat because of shit you can't control,
right,
that you didn't ask for, and how you were born.
Right.
But understanding that people can perceive you that way, then like going in with that and just understanding it's like, all right, this is baggage I didn't ask for, but I still got to carry it.
Got to do it. Got to handle it.
And that's and that became like the fulcrum in our conversation. We'll bring it back to Ahsoka, because in his explanation of being a mentor, and he's like, and then I empower all of my people, like as a mentor, to understand this thing that they didn't ask for, that they are still going to carry the baggage of, and that links to my intention of the video was, it's like, as men, this is baggage that we didn't ask for, that we have no control over. That is how other people other people's experiences have created that situation. And so like, and the OODA loop, like it is a really, really great way to break down what are my decisions in this moment so that I'm acting from here instead of from the other person's energy. Because the other person can come at me with aggression that I didn't ask for, that I didn't earn. And if I respond with aggression, then we're escalating, and there's fuck all that either of us now can do about it because it's escalating.
Right. And then I'm validating their perception of me as a threat.
Right. Wow. You guys are awesome. I've said this before to many people. You guys, the way you guys explain stuff just puts, like, I'm still young. I'm only 23. So, you know, it puts stuff into perspective in a way that I don't ever think about just because I don't have that experience yet. You know what I mean? So like when you guys explain any issue like this, like I don't remember like specifics, but like every time I see you guys address anything that's not just like Star Wars or like lightsaber inspired, it just is like the way you explain. I've even commented this on Akula's post several times. Like we could bring it to the Apex stuff, like talk about Apex, like people in Apex in the community. It's like you don't even have to be a part of that community to know kind of what goes on. Like it's just out there, everybody knows. So just like the way you guys explain it is,
I had to stop reading comments when you do Apex videos. Like, oh my god, man,
it's the best. It's the best.
Oh my god,
it triggers people more than Star Wars. People think Star Wars is bad. Talk about Apex. Oh my goodness. And then I don't know if you follow, there's a girl, I don't remember her username, but she kind of looks like Bangalore. I don't know if you follow her.
Oh yeah, Azor. Yeah, I follow her.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
He loves it too. He riles in the chaos.
Even like yesterday, she was back and forth with this one guy in the comments, and I was just cracking up. I don't even know what started it, but I was like, I went back to find the video and it wasn't there anymore. And I was like, oh, whatever. I'll just enjoy this argument that's happening. And it's great. It's fantastic. But yeah, so we should end it there. I definitely am cool with you guys coming back anytime you want.
Happy to be a friend of the pod.
Go ahead, like tell everybody where you're at.
After you, sir.
All right. I am Inquisitor Akula _Akula on TikTok. If you're not already following me, please do. I'm getting, as you see, there's this ridiculous mess behind me. I'm still getting set up, but I'm getting back. I just had the cosplay all the way back on. The red shark is back. Follow me. The spinning will return. I promise.
Where's my jacket at, bro? Come on. Get it on. I've been trying to tell him to bring this jacket back for a couple of days now. I had to throw that in there in the little intro video I made too. I love the Finn jacket.
Oh yeah, that one's sick.
It's so dope.
John, I'm glad you joined us.
My wife.
Uh-oh. Did you lose it?
Oh, I got it. She got it.
Let's go. Yes. Let's go.
So we're gonna have Sith Finn content. That's where we're headed.
Hey man.
Finn.
Better than the story he got.
Hey.
Nice.
Where did you get that?
Amazon. My boy, this is $20.
Yeah?
This is $20 on Amazon right now.
Send me the link.
I got you. I swear to God, I'll fucking right after we get off. I'm sending it to you.
All right.
There's you can set up as an Amazon something or other now. And so like if you've got stuff that people ask you about a lot, you can actually create an Amazon list.
Really?
As a creator and funnel people to it, and it doesn't cost them any different, but then you get a commission from it.
What?
And it's
set that up, then send it to me so I can help support you.
Gotcha.
It's
gotcha.
Like that it's I don't remember when Amazon started doing it, but it's like that's awesome. You guys are both big enough from a follower standpoint. You should be able to get set up. And then, especially if there's stuff that you use or that you do or whatever that people ask you about frequently, then it's just like, there's the link, dude. You don't have to search for anything. I don't have to show you how to find it. Like, just go this way. And it's like, it costs the other person the same amount of money. It helps support your channel.
Right.
Like,
hey man, I'm down for that. I'm going to look into that for sure. Let's hear it. Is it going to be the Rainbow Blade?
This isn't a Xeno, so I can't. Friendly Neighborhood Master Alan is available at Level Up Light 1 on TikTok. Also, Level Up Light 2. Please follow the backup account because I don't know the next time I'm going to swing a lightsaber around and catch a ban. Now, I promise the lightsaber guaranteed better than a stick. All right, now this has been brewing for a little bit, and I wanted to get to it like as soon as we scheduled this. I wanted to get to announce it here for the first time. So April 1st, as long as somebody in my house doesn't get sick again or something else go horribly wrong, the Akula edition Mini Menace, that package is going to go live on the site, and it is a Mini Menace handle, 2 short blades so that you can use it as a staff, a longer blade, and a blade plug so that you can use it to spin as a single blade saber plus a saber sheath. So that is the Mini Menace handle. It is 1 button, 2 lights, NeoPixel. And the Akula package is going to be 2 short blades, 1 longer blade, and a blade plug so that you can put in the long blade on one side, still have the bottom like light effect.
Don't do this.
And do all the different spins that Akula shows on his site. But rather than having to buy a couple of different things, you get one thing, covers all your bases.
Dude, what? Oh my goodness.
And
You're
it is
killing me.
Pixel Electronics. So you have blade effects and other things. And with the most recent firmware update, which it's not available on the site yet, but the firmware updates will allow you to adjust blade length on the SD card. So if you have something that is a shortened blade or whatever, you'll still be able to get like tip drag and other stuff to work without having to have the full length blade. And that package is coming. I think it has a saber stand too.
You said April 1st?
It should be April 1st. It might be
April Fool's. It's not a thing. He's lying.
I'll announce it as April 2nd so that everybody doesn't freak out.
Yeah, I might have to sell my Electrum Saber.
Get it through the link. I will be advertising it. I will be doing more videos with this bad girl.
Yes, that is
Akula
awesome.
and Jake the Jedi, both affiliates of Level Up Lightsaber. I'm very proud to have them.
Thank you. Buy through Akula's link. That's his pack, though.
Well, and like Akula was one of my top affiliates last year, and that is part of why I'm setting this up for him, because
that's awesome.
Like if somebody is going to perform above a certain level, they will have the opportunity to have a package that I think people will buy. It's the type of content that they make. 100%. Also, everybody that purchases the Akula package, it supports his channel.
I'm buying it. I'm there. Give me a pre-order button, please. I'm pre-ordering that as soon as I get left.
I'll get a pre-order set up as soon as I can. That'll work. We can do that.
Go. All right. You heard it here first. That's awesome. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Like I said, anytime you guys have I clicked on something. Anytime you guys want to hop on here, just let me know. Even if it's last minute, I'm cool with you guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Right. We will see you guys. Actually, real quick, next Monday is my next podcast. I'm going to post about it on TikTok right after I get off of here, and you'll see the guests. So go check that out.
Awesome.
Good. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
See you guys later.